Hey, my Squarespace friends. Today I'm going to show you how to build this tab section in Squarespace. And I've actually recorded the whole video, and as I was editing it, I felt like I probably need to give you a disclaimer. This video is all about just jumping into the code and learning how I go through the process of putting something like this together. If you don't want to watch a 30-minute, 40-minute, I don't know how long this is going to be, video about me building this out, and if you just want tabs on your website, go to my blog page about tabs. It's called How to Add Tabs in Squarespace 7.0. Go all the way down here to the bottom to how to install the Easy Tabs plugin. I built a plugin that allows you to install them. It's really easy. You just got to copy these things in. It's really simple. And if you like that, this is just a free version just to show you that it works, and it works on your website, but it'll only allow you to do 2 tabs. If you want more tabs and a bunch of other cool features, consider getting my tabs plugin, which is just a more advanced version of this, and it gives you some more stuff. So I just thought I'd give you that disclaimer up front. Let's jump into building out, where are our tabs? These tabs. All right, how do we build tabs? Well, there's really 3 different steps, okay? So the first step is we're going to build out the content. That's going to be our tab buttons, and then the tab containers, what is inside each one of the tabs itself. We're going to create that. Next, we need to create the actions. So there's really 2 main actions that happen. It's just when you click the tab button, content appears and other content disappears. So those are the 2 actions we need to build. And we're going to use JavaScript, a little bit of jQuery to make that happen. And then we're going to style the tab, so make it all look exactly how we want it, really nice. So let's jump into step 1, building this content. Okay, so for our example today, we're going to pretend like I'm a photographer, and what I want is 3 different tabs. One tab is going to be the gallery section with all of my photos that I really like. The next section is going to be about me. It's going to be just a text block about me. And the third section is going to be a contact form. And that contact form, people can just fill out and get in touch with me. So that's what I've built out here. You do it in your website. This is just a Squarespace 7.1 doesn't have gallery blocks. Very frustrating. But you do have summary blocks. So we created a summary. I created a summary block, just added the images and the layout. I just have, or in our display tab over here, I just have the thumbnails showing, so it's just showing my images. So that's how I've created that. Then I have one block here, which is just my content. And then I have one block here, which is just my form, my contact form there. So that's step 1, building out this content. The other piece we need to create is our buttons. We need to create buttons. And we're not going to use just a regular button element. We're going to create some code to do this, because we need to be very much in control of the HTML, the markup around these buttons, because we need to apply actions to those buttons. So this is what we're going to do. First, I'm going to insert in a code block. And now let's create a couple buttons. We're just going to create them as divs, because that's going to be really easy. That's just a very basic generic HTML element. You could do P for a paragraph tag if you want. But I'm going to we'll just leave them as P, actually. That might be better. P class, we're going to give them classes as tab button. And then close out that tag, and we'll call this first button my gallery. Put in that content in there. Next, I'm going to do this exact same thing, so I can just copy and paste it down. We're just going to call this next one about, and then we're going to do the same thing one more time, and we're going to call this one our contact, because that's our contact form. So these are our 3 buttons for our tabs right here. Now let's add a couple other things in here, because we need unique identifiers, because when we're creating our JavaScript, our jQuery, we need to specifically select this one gallery button. We need to specifically select this one about button. So to do a unique identifier, a unique selector, we're going to do ID equals, we'll say gallery tab, gallery dash tab. How about that? And then we're going to paste this into the other 2 and just change the value of this about tab and contact tab. And that's good. And now we're going to want to style this a little bit later. So why don't we just wrap all of this in a div, and we'll give that a class of tab button group. How about that? GROUP. And then it creates that other ending div, but we want that to be at the end. So this is all contained together. Now I'm just going to quickly reformat it. You can reformat it like that, hit Shift Tab on a Mac, and it'll sort of align it how we want. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to hit apply. There it is. We have our buttons right here. And then we have our 3 pieces of content. So we are now set up with step 1. We have completed all of the content. Step 2, let's build the actions. Now we're gonna just get jumping into some jQuery and JavaScript stuff. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So the first thing we need to do is make sure we have jQuery loaded on this page. jQuery is basically like a JavaScript plugin. It just allows you to write JavaScript a lot easier, a lot quicker, and I find it a lot more readable. So I'm just going to type in jQuery CDN, Content Delivery Network. That's what that stands for. And it will load it up really quick. Click on that first one, hit uncompressed, copy all of this code, go back into your website, go into the settings of the page, advanced, and then just paste it right there up at the top. I already have jQuery loaded on my website, so I don't want to reload it again just because it's going to slow my website down. So I am going to delete it because I know I already have it loaded. If you don't know if you have it loaded, just add it in. It's not going to break your website. And if you definitely don't have it loaded, make sure you have that in there and then hit save. Now let's create our code that's going to do the things. So really what we're looking to do here is as we click, the only actions we need to do is just display or not display these elements. And so the easiest way to do that is to just create a CSS class that says display an element or don't display an element. Display : none, display : block. So that's basically what we're going to do. So let's create those 2 classes in our CSS area first. So I'm going to go to done save, design, custom CSS. There's just a bunch of code. I'm going to clear that out so it's not confusing. And let's create a couple CSS styles. The first is going to be our active tab. So I'm just going to do dot because it's a class. Active -tab, open and closing, display, none. So there we go. Our next is going to be our non-active tab. And this is just going to be display block. And so what the actions we're going to program, what the actions are going to do is as I click on this button, this gallery button, I'm going to apply a class to this gallery. That is this active tab class. So it's going to display it. And also as I click the button, other actions are going to take place. And we're going to apply a class to this block right here. That's going to be non-active tab, and to this block, non-active tab. So that's part of the fun of jQuery. You can create all these different things. And so that's basically what we're going to build. So that's what we're going to build next is adding classes to these different block elements. So let's jump into doing that. I'm just going to hit edit. I'm going to create another code block here. We're gonna do a starting script because this is we're gonna be using jQuery. Now this is just some syntactic stuff. I would recommend you learning this, but I'm not necessarily gonna teach it because you can just research this, type this into Google, jQuery syntax, and you can learn it right there. So $ function, break this down. I know I misspelled function. I will fix that. Function. And so this is what this is saying though, is this is saying anything I put within this opening and closing brackets, tags, whatever we call them, I'm telling my computer, hey, let's wait until the entire page loads and then let's run whatever is inside here. So that's what this is saying. So that's why we typically always want to start off with this and then put our code in between. So let's start off with creating variables for each one of these items because that'll make it a lot easier to write if we're using very plain English variables. So let's do let, because that's how you declare a variable, and let's say our gallery tab equals, and now we need to find the block ID of this gallery. So the way we do that, I have opened up this page in a new incognito tab. So that's what this is over here. So this is my page. So that's where I got here. You can open up a new incognito tab, file, new incognito window. And then I'm just going to right click here on this object, on this gallery block, and hit inspect. And you see as I highlight over here, the different elements on my page are being highlighted. So this is my block. This is the block ID. And you can see as I hover over it, I have those green padding arrow, the indicators around it. And if I scroll to the bottom of this div, you'll see block UI right there. So I'm gonna double click on that block UI, copy it, and then paste it over here, and then end. I'm going to do my ending. Actually, this is not right. I need to put in, put this all inside quotes, and then put it in, use my selector right here, my hashtag selector. So there's our gallery tab. Now let's declare another variable, about tab equals, in those little guys, hashtag, and let's find this next one. Grab my selector, make sure I have the padding, the green padding around. That's sort of how you know you've selected the block right there. Paste it in. Notice that syntax as well. Ending colon, let contact tab equals, opening and closing in that. And let's just do this one more time for our form. Make sure we got the green padding, block UI, copy, paste, hashtag. Boom. Okay, so now we've declared these 3 HTML elements as variables. So now we can play around with these variables, and as we put them into JavaScript, it's going to know, actually, this is the real selector here. This is what that variable means. So let's initiate this function. So let's make these 2 disappear, because once this loads, and this one stay. So I'm gonna select our little $, our getter, and then dot, we're gonna say add class, because we're gonna do our CSS class. We're adding that CSS class, and in quotes, it's gonna be our active tab, or let's start with our non-active tab. So we're gonna get we'll just start with our active tab. That might be more clear. I'm gonna put in my gallery tab, this variable right here. So we're selecting our gallery tab, then we're adding the class active tab. Done. And now we're going to get our about tab, and then we're gonna add in our contact tab. So we're gonna apply these properties. Whatever I'm about to do next is gonna happen to both of these variables here. So then I'm gonna say add class, and what was the class again? Oh yeah, non-active tab. And now our ending semicolon, and hit apply. When I hit apply, and when I done and save out of this, we should only see this gallery right here. So let's just hit apply, see what happens. Something broke. So it looks like I have my CSS selectors opposite right here. So the classes, they added to the right elements, but my non-active tabs, it's showing as display, and my active tabs, it's showing as don't display. So I need to switch these. So block and none. And there we go. So now we are set. It's sort of we've initiated this. So the next thing we need to do is we need to add the actions for each one of these. So when I click on gallery tab, I need to add classes to some of those variables, those elements, and remove classes, or add the other class to the other ones. So let's jump back in, hit edit again, go back into our script, and let's add in 3 more variables, 1 for each of our buttons. So let's do let gallery, we'll call it gallery tab button. You can call these whatever you want. And remember those ID selectors, those unique ID selectors that we added in? Let's do that. We called it gallery tab. We kept the structure of that syntax the same, so I don't even have to look it up. About tab button, that's gonna be our next one, and we're gonna do hashtag about tab. So that is that unique selector, and let contact tab button. These are case sensitive. So tab, button, these are all case sensitive. So I need to make sure I'm doing it correctly there. Hashtag contact tab. Okay, and let's make sure I got those correctly. About tab, contact, gallery tab. Perfect. Okay, now let's go in and let's create jQuery, this is really like an event listener. So whenever the event is when I click. So that's the event I want my browser to listen for. When I click on something, I want an action to take place. So the way you create that, $, I'm going to do our gallery tab button. So as I click on that, I want it to run a function. And that function, again, all the syntax you can look up if that's I'm moving too quickly for you. The function I want it to run is select our gallery tab right here, right? Whenever it's clicked, select our gallery tab, and I want to add a class, active tab. And I want to remove the class because if it has it, I don't know if it has it or not. Remove the class non-active tab. Boom, there we go. And now I want to do a similar thing for our other guys. So this is kind of just similar to what we have up here. So I can just copy, I'll talk it out. So I'm going to hit our About tab. So again, this is all within the Gallery tab button. When I click the Gallery tab button, when I click it, both of these, everything within inside this curly bracket and this curly bracket is going to be executed. So tab, About tab, then we want to also add the Contact tab. We want to add the class. These are going to be non-active tab, and we want to remove the class in case either one of them has this class of active tab. There we go. And now I want to just copy this, and first, why don't we just test this out? Let's just make sure before I copy it and paste it 2 more times for the other button. Let's just test it and see what happens, right? So something looks like it is not working. Oh, no, it is working. The other stuff just disappeared. Let's refresh our page over here. This might be easier to look at. So there we go, the gallery tab. And you know what? Because it's already initiated, I'm not going to be able to test this out. So I really just need to go back into edit mode and play this out a little bit more. So why don't I just copy this? And we're going to do this twice more. I'm going to paste this in twice more for the other 2 buttons. So that we just did gallery tab. Now let's do About tab. So I want to change this to About tab class, add the active tab, remove the non-active tab. And then for the Contact tab and the gallery tab, I want to add the class non-active, remove the class active. And then finally down here for our Contact button, when the Contact button is clicked, I want to add these, I want to select the Contact tab and add the class active and remove the class non-active. And then our Contact tab, let's replace this with gallery. So now I'm going to hit apply. Let's reformat this. I hate that bad formatting. Again, Shift tab reformats it, makes it look pretty. Hit save. And as I click these other buttons, beautiful. That's exactly what I want. Now, of course, these don't look like buttons, so we need to style this, and that is going to be step number 3. All right, step number 3. Let's go into edit, and I'm going to look at let's look at our markup here one more time, our HTML. We have our tab button group. So this is something I want to do. I want to make sure this parent container, that's what this is. All of these are the children of our tab button group. I want to maybe center all of this and then make all of these sort of inline. So I'm just going to hit apply, save. Let's just throw on some class. So tab button group, let's start here. That's 1, opening, closing. Then we have our tab button. That's the other guy. Let's start off with display inline for that. See if those will line up. Perfect. Now let's do a display flex for that, and then do justify justify content center. Ooh, that is nice and weird. Let's hit done. Now let's apply some other things. Let's give this a background color of, I want to fade, let's do black, of, ooh, let's do 50%. How about that? There we go. Let's align items here. This is looking a bit odd. Display, align, items, center. You know, this is actually, I think I know why it's doing this. This does some weird stuff in the back end. Let's save this and see if it's doing it over here. Yeah, Squarespace does some weird things sometimes. So this is aligned here on the live site, but as I'm editing it, sometimes it just shows weird stuff. So I'm going to ignore that for right now. Padding, let's give it 10 pixels by 25 pixels maybe. I didn't spell padding right. There we go. Let's see, what else do we want to add? Maybe a margin. Let's add a margin between all of them except the first one. So I'm going to use our and, because our and just mirrors this tab button here. I'm going to say and not. I don't want to select our first of type, which is, so I want to apply whatever I'm about to put here is just going to apply to these, anything after this first one. And I'm going to say margin left of 5 pixels, so that'll space it out a little bit more. Let's see, what else do we want to add? Oh, let's add a cursor pointer. Let's change it into a pointer. Or that's not going to work. We want to add that to the hover effect, right? No, we can just cursor. It doesn't really need to be pointer. So as I am hovering over anything, it's just going to turn the cursor into a pointer there. So that makes it really nice. And then let's add maybe a border bottom of 1 pixel solid white. Let's add that down there. So that looks, we're starting to look pretty good. And also I realized we haven't added any code to change what the styles of the active tab button would look like here. So this will be the inactive tab button. I'm just going to change the color to, let's do hashtag AA. That'll be a little grayed out. And then as you hover over, let's do that on the tab button. How about that? Whoop. Color hashtag AA. All right, so yeah, let's add some hover effects. I'm gonna do our and. So as we create on this tab button, that is the and then the hover. Let's add maybe color as full white and the background color as black, full black as I hover over it. So that'll show which one is really selected there. All right, so let's save this and then let's jump back in and add some other JavaScript here to change as we remove and delete and hide and not hide. What am I saying? As we show and hide our different elements here, we want to do a similar thing up here. We want to add an active class to whichever tab, just so we can visually see which tab is actually active. So let's go back into our script here. Let's add a few more actions within each button. So let's say on select, we want to grab our gallery tab button. So again, when the gallery tab button is clicked, right? Oh, my AC is turning on. We're going to add a class to that gallery tab button, and let's make that class be, we can make this whatever we want because we haven't created it yet. Active tab button. Let's call it active tab button. And let's just leave it at that. And then let's grab our other two guys right here. Or no, not these guys. We need to do the buttons. So I'm going to do select about tab button, and then add our contact tab button. And we're going to remove the class in case it was there. We're going to remove the class active tab button. And then we're just going to copy and paste this and do this for our other tab buttons here and just rearrange them. Gallery, this is the about, and then instead of about, we're going to change that to gallery. Then we're going to paste it in down here as well, and we're going to say contact. Instead of contact, we're going to say gallery. and then reformat, prettify it, hit save. And now we can create our class that we're going to do tab button and then dot, because it's also added to that same element, active tab button. And we're just going to say, let's say color. Let's do this same stuff, color black. But you'll notice we didn't add it to the init function, the initiate function. So I'm going to go back in here and double click on our code. So this is our sort of init stuff. So as it loads the first time, this is just going to run once, just that first time. I'm going to add this code because this is what we want. We don't necessarily need to remove it because nothing is added yet. So I'm just going to add this right here, hit apply, done, save. And boom, okay, there we go. Now this is really coming along. I'm going to hit save, refresh it on my other page, see if this is. Look at that. That is exactly what I'm looking for. Let's add one other thing. I want to add another little element down here just to show the difference between an active tab and a hovering tab. Why don't we do border bottom 1 pixel solid white for that one. So there we go. So anytime the active one is selected, it is going to show up as solid white. Refresh, make sure this is, see, there we go. That's looking really, really nice. I like that a lot. Actually, you might have noticed I just cut the video there. I don't know if I like that a lot. I've changed my mind. So I'm going to get rid of the border because these just look like sort of buttons. I want this to look more like tabs, like actual tabs. So if I open up my web inspector here, I can look. What I want to do is get rid of this bottom padding there. There's too much bottom padding. That's our margin blocks or margin block end that I'm looking to get rid of. So I'm going to jump into here, our tab button. You know what? And those are on our divs, on our P class. If I change those to divs, that might be a little bit better. So I'm going to go back into our code. Instead of P's, instead of our paragraphs, I'm just going to do div, change our div for each one of these. Opening and closing. There we go. And now we're right lined up. If I refresh, there we go. And you can see there's a little bit of a bottom border there. I could accentuate that a little bit more. Oh, it looks like I've frozened up a little bit. There we go. Border bottom. What if I change that to like 4 pixels to really show off that? There we go. That's looking like what I want it to look like. But what if I look at it on mobile? It might not look very good. If you have 3 tabs, this might work. But let's say you have like 4 tabs. What if I had another tab in here? That was my tab 4, and let's change our unique ID here just so we don't get messed up. If I have 4 and then I go to a mobile view, it just looks awful and it makes our screen big. So let's add in some media queries here to make sure that everything looks good on mobile. So first thing, I sort of want to change this. Actually, we could have added this earlier. We want to do flex wrap, just no wrap. Or no, I'm sorry, not no wrap. We want it to wrap. So there we go. And also, that can just be applied everywhere. We don't need that just to happen on mobile. And then at media max width 767 pixels. Let's do our opening, closing curly brackets, and then justify content. Let's throw this at the start, not the center, and that should push everything over there. And we also have this code that's running our margin left. Let's remove that as we get going. At media max width 767 pixels, opening, closing. Let's copy that whole guy in there and just throw it to 0 because that's going to match it up a little bit more. But this would look a lot better if we just had padding or margin around it. Margin, why don't we just add 5 pixels to everything? There we go. That's looking a little bit better, but I don't really like how this tab 4 doesn't work. That's right, so that's why it doesn't work when I click on it. Don't really like how it jumps around. The sizing of things messes. So let's look into that a little bit. I might change this to at media. Why don't we change that to max width? We're gonna turn off that bottom border here. We're gonna say border bottom 0 pixels. How about that? px, dang if I can spell. And then we'll just say, we'll give the whole thing a border of 1 pixel white, solid, white, solid. How do you spell solid? There it is. All right, and then if I save and then refresh it over here, let's go to our mobile side. This is looking a little bit better. We still look like we have this first thing that's margined out a little bit. So let's change that. Let's fix that up. Margin left 0 pixels. That should be margin left. Let's maybe add this to the bottom down here. No, you know what? This needs to be added to. Just going to need to move all of this. This needs to be added within here at media max width 767 pixels. We're going to say margin left 0px. Or we could just get rid of it because it's the same 5 pixels. There we go. And boom, there we go. That's it. All right, so there you have it. It works, but there's one other thing I want to show you. Sometimes if you just jump to mobile and you click on other things, sometimes the gallery stuff disappears. So this is just something I've learned over my course of life doing Squarespace stuff. There's this one little trick that you need to add, and it's I hesitate even teaching about it just because it's very confusing and hard to learn, but you need to add this one little guy right here, and it is this window.squarespace. This needs to be added into each one of these click function buttons. And this is basically, we're selecting our window and we have a Squarespace object on it, and Squarespace has created these functions that initialize all these blocks. And sometimes if you resize pages, some of these blocks will disappear, and so you need this initialize layout blocks on each one of these clicks. We need to redo it. So I'm going to copy that, add it into the bottom of each one, and that's your little magic code for you there. And then we will hit apply, and then that should really do it for serious this time. So now I'm going to refresh our page. I'm going to look at this. It works on desktop. I'm going to look at it on mobile. If I click around, it pops up. Now our gallery is popping up there again, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so that is it. If you want my super easy, simple, you don't have to go through this every single time you create a new tab section, I have a plugin that allows for this. It makes it really easy to add tabs onto your website. Plus you get some other sticky features that are fun to add to if you want to do that. But otherwise, sign up for my newsletter, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you enjoy any of this, and have a great day.